Fantastic. All right. So, Michael, it's been an amazing journey. So, we've been together now for the better part of, say, 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions because, when you came to me, I remember you were really unsure. You had a lot of uncertainty, what was going on. You had a lot of questions around your health and, um, you were quite unclear and I remember a little emotional as well around what was
Yeah.
going on for you.
Yeah. I,
Um,
I would I would call it desperate. I felt desperate at the time. I think desperate's a really good word.
yeah, wow. Yeah, okay. I mean, just I remember feeling the gravity of the impact that your health had on you at the time in terms of all aspects of your life. But if you wanted to just highlight a little bit about what was going on for you in terms of your health when we first met.
Yeah. So when we first met, I had an array of symptoms, signs and symptoms every single day. And they felt pretty debilitating. Um, Almost where there was days where I felt like I was actually having maybe strokes because I had some neurological symptoms. I had some GI and abdominal symptoms. I had a lot of brain fog and fatigue and chest palpitations, to the point where I was seeing cardiologists, I was seeing primary care doctors, to the point where I felt like I couldn't even do my job as a paramedic. And, I got to the point where I was on anxiety medications because everyone was kind of like, well, yeah, you have high blood pressure and this and this, but your labs aren't crazy. And so I felt like I wasn't making it through the day anymore. I wasn't, you know, going to be functioning as a paramedic. I didn't feel good as a father. I felt too tired to help my wife with stuff. And I'm 29. I was 29 at the time, 30 years old now. It really it felt very debilitating, and I never had a path to a clear answer.
Yeah.
And I think that was the most frustrating part. Was I know what I'm feeling, I know for certain I'm not crazy. um but yet that's kind of, I think that was kind of the outlook, was like, well, every your labs look good, yeah, you have hypertension, but everybody has hypertension. You have hyperlipidemia, but everybody does. Here's a statin if you want it. And
At the
yeah, I
age of
was
29. At the
yeah,
age of
and I was
29, that's been dished out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was really in a very desperate place. And I couldn't figure it out, even just the base knowledge of medicine that I have being a paramedic. I was like, man, I'm having, cardiac symptoms and neurological symptoms, and every night, I'm feeling numbness in my face and chest palpitations that won't go away. And um I was like, I don't know, like, I don't really know what else to do here.
And
Yeah,
what made you think, yeah, and you came across me, and
mhm.
what made you think that there could be something with thyroid? You were unsure, like you were in some way or form attracted to what I do. What was the kind of like
Yeah.
the pivot point that made you think, you know what, I need to have a conversation with Megan?
So I started by, my father-in-law thankfully had done a, it's from Function Health, and it was basically an expanded lab work. And he
Yeah.
said, hey, you should just do this. And I'm like, well, I've had a bunch of lab work. And he said, no, it's different, right? This is an expanded panel. So when I looked into that, that was the things I had wanted to get done, but insurance wouldn't cover, so it was going to cost me a lot of money.
Yeah.
um so I ended up just paying for it, and getting this massive panel done. Well, I had already had my thyroid labs checked before, and they were normal. But on this panel that I got, the thyroid antibodies and the autoimmune panel was associated with it, and that was my first clue. Was because my autoimmune stuff was elevated and my thyroid was still normal, but clearly then I said, oh, I have a tangible here. I can see that, I mean, it's being attacked. it might not have swayed into a hypo or hyper or anything like that, but it is being attacked. So I have a tangible here that I can run with.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I was just like searching the internet for answers. And a friend of mine actually said, "Oh, I have a friend who used you." And
Yeah.
when I got on your website, I saw that one of my relatives from the family I married into had used you. And when I reached out to her, she said it was the best decision I've ever made. She changed my life. And I would say the same thing right now as well. So that's how we got linked up.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful to hear. Yeah, that's so amazing. Like, like I don't feel like I've got an amazing reach, but it's really interesting how the synchronicity of when you follow you follow the little steps, and then suddenly it's like, oh, okay, here I am. It's like the synchronicity of the universe, creating that pathway so that you get to where you need to be. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's really, really beautiful to hear. Thanks for sharing that.
No,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, so where would you say you are now? So we've been working together. Oh, I should have looked at the dates, but I think it's roughly around 5 months. Would you say 4 or 5
Yeah, I
months?
think so.
Yeah. Where would you say that you are now in terms of your signs and symptoms, but also your confidence, your level of confidence in terms of what's going on and the pathway forward? Tell us a little bit about what's going on now in comparison.
Yeah, so my signs and symptoms are getting a lot better. I still have like reactions after I eat,
Mm.
especially certain foods. Um, but my signs and symptoms have certainly gotten better,
Yeah.
substantially better, actually. Like night and day, I can make it through the day and get some sleep at night and feel pretty well. But I still have a ways to go. But I would say I started at desperate and then I hit optimism and now I feel like I don't know what the right word is, but I know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. I know that there's an end game, and I know I have a good idea that I know how to get there. I would say I went from desperate to optimistic to confident. Actually, I would say I'm confident, even though I know it's going to take time. I'm confident we're going to get there because of the progress that I've made so far, that you have
Yeah.
made with me.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. So that's the thing, you know what? Sometimes we want to, we want the answers and we want to fix everything, but it's not always like that. It takes time, like what I say, I often say to clients, coming on this journey, as long as you're making progress, it's not linear and never is. There's always all the variables that impact. And as long as we can see that the trajectory has changed and you're committed to that process, then you can see that light in the end of the tunnel. So
yeah,
I feel like that's the case for you. And it's great that you've got this level of confidence compared to the desperation. So
yeah.
that's really, really good to hear. And what specifically, across doing the thyroid restoration roadmap, what specifically have you found, what elements, because there's quite a lot of elements to it to help in this holistic level of support. What has really stood out the most for you to really help you across this time? Sorry, I was just going to say, because, we have our one-on-one sessions. Of course, we have our group training sessions. We have an e-portal with all the resources. We do functional testing, which is bespoke for what's going on for you. We have our deep dive session. We have our in-between messenger access points. And we also have our community group so that you're not alone and you know that there's other people going on with the same thing. So what's really stood out the most for you in terms of your journey so far?
I think it's been the one on ones. And for me, I'm like following like you say, hey, eat these foods. Okay, like I could eat them all day, right? Eat these foods. There's an end game. You can do that. But I think the one on ones that really dug past the surface level of just eat these foods because they're good, exercise because it's good for you. I think the one on ones revealed something deeper about true overall health that I probably needed. And I think it was, I would say the one-on-ones helped shed a light on some things that I had really been neglecting. Yeah,
Yeah.
the one-on-one, the best.
Yeah, beautiful. Because, I mean, of course, there could be directive where, oh, eat these foods, off you go. But, my true belief is that the partnership and understanding the why and understanding so much more about the wisdom of your body is what's going to actually create the sustainable change and also the longevity in health and wellness, because it's that inner knowing and that learning that actually, that accessing that wisdomhood that's within your cells is really what's going to allow you to create the changes that need to be made, as opposed to me just saying, oh, do this, do that. Like, where's the learning there, right? Would you?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Yes, there was
Yeah.
a lot of enlightening that had to happen through this process.
Beautiful. And what about the functional testing? How has that assisted in shedding light on what's going on for you in terms of deeper layers and exacerbating factors and potentially root cause of what's actually going on?
Yeah, I mean, it gave me answers, right? It gave me the answers that I had been looking for on a deeper level. And the thing is that it gave me a tangible. And I think those tangibles were really important for me because if I could see it in a test result, I knew, okay, there's something there. And now I can formulate a game plan, or we can formulate a game plan to treat it. So just being able to, like, I don't know, see the boogeyman, then it helped put it into a quantifiable state where I could say, okay, now I know, like, we can attack this instead of
Yeah.
just being every day feeling like I don't have no idea what's going on. Like, this is crazy. Like, I feel like I'm in the dark. It definitely gave me a tangible, quantifiable thing that we could work on.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. And where would you say, you mentioned confidence. So, in terms of a scale of 1 to 10, if you were to have a number when we first met and then have another number, 10 being optimal best and one being really like desperate, where were you and where are you now on your journey?
In terms of being confident,
Yes.
yeah, I was pretty low. I was at like a 1 or a 2 probably when we started. It was really, really low. And now, I would say 8 or a 9. I know it's going to take time, but I know that it's just time at this point, right? It's time in doing the right things, and it's reversible. And I know that for certain. So I night and day difference. I'm extremely confident in how far we've come, and I'm confident that we can get to the end.
Beautiful. I love that. And you know what? It's only 4 or 5 months. Seriously, like in the scheme of autoimmune and how debilitating that can be and impactful on one's life, that's relatively a short period of time. So, I feel like it's such testament to you, Michael, because you've really been so incredibly proactive and really, stepping up into the partnership. Like I can only do so much if someone's not meeting me halfway, and you've definitely more than done that. So full credit to you as well on this journey and really stepping into, the potential of what changes you can make. And I just, on that, I just love to hear, like, it's like I don't mean to completely uproot people's lives, but I've just noticed that after the last 4 years of working with people, it's not unusual for someone to have a complete change in their life, like in terms of it might be their work, it could be their home life, their lifestyle, just a complete like 360 almost in the way they do things. And it's certainly not like we can't have a crystal ball, but it just seems to be the case for I would say a large proportion of people that I work with that get the significant change. How much
Yeah.
of that do you think is relevant to you in your life with where you're at now? It may be an epiphany moment or penny, that penny drop moment, that light bulb going off in terms of what needs to happen.
Yeah, well, I think there was that was part of the recognition that I really wasn't putting the time in for the overall health, right? Was recognizing, I guess, the effects of like stress and lack of sleep and how bad that those things were. So they made a very big difference, changing my job and then quitting nicotine, quitting caffeine, which were two. I mean, that was those were some tough weeks, but overall, it just made the world of difference, right? I wasn't living off of stimulants to get me through the day. Yeah, it was first hard part was recognizing that it was an issue and there was a problem, and then actually implementing and doing that. Tough decisions, but definitely paid off.
Yeah.
Absolutely paid off.
Yeah, awesome. That's fantastic. Fantastic. And I just also love to ask, like, what advice would you have to someone who you met that is actually struggling with these kind of like weird signs and symptoms that don't seem to relate? They're being fobbed off by the medicos, they're not being taken seriously, and there's just kind of like odd, weird stuff. I might have even been since looking at
Yeah.
the elephant
Yeah.
in the room there. There's some big triggers there from that situation. So, what advice would you give to someone if you had a conversation with someone who was had all these weird signs and symptoms and potential autoimmune and thyroid and all the rest of it?
I would, if I had to talk to somebody, I would say, first, I would probably say I'm sorry because I know how frustrating it could be. But I would say, don't let the frustrations get the better of you because you just have to dig. It's
Yeah,
there. You just have to dig and find it. So I would say, be patient with yourself. And then it's going to take a little bit of time, but you have to give it the time and take the little wins because most of this doesn't happen overnight. So it's going to take some time to fix it, but take the wins as they come, build off of them, and then you can turn it around. It doesn't have to be like this forever. You can absolutely turn it around. And I think that's it. Have a little bit of hope because when you're feeling pretty low, hope will carry you through.
absolutely. Such beautiful advice. Fantastic advice. And yeah, is there anything else that you'd like to say, like to share on your experience in working through the thyroid restoration roadmap? Anything that you'd like to share with where you're at on your journey so far, and yeah, looking into the future as well.
Yeah, well, I think I appreciate the thoroughness. No stone was left unturned. We hit every avenue and facet of what could potentially be causing it. And lo and behold, something I had been struggling with for a while. 5 months later, we found several culprits, ways to turn it around, and a long term game plan. Obviously, we're not there yet, but we are getting there. And I have a substantial amount of quality of life back.
Yeah,
So I want to say I appreciate how thorough and patient you were with me and how much you have changed the quality in my life and continue to. So thank you very much.
oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. And would you recommend this program? Like it's a big, it's kind of like it's an investment in time and it's an investment in your
Yeah.
health. Is it something that you would recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That 100%. I mean, I couldn't recommend it enough is what I would say. And anyone who really actually wants to turn their health around and not just take a statin every day or be on thyroid medications every day. If you actually want to change your health and not mask it, this is the route to take.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. I mean, I love that. And just last, I could see your little beautiful, gorgeous kids in the background, so I don't want to
Okay, can
apologize.
you see him? This
Hello.
is Reese.
Oh,
That's my wife
beautiful.
back there. I don't know if you can see her. Then we got
Hey.
Maggie, the littlest one back there.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
Well,
gorgeous. Yeah.
thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful family. And just one last question, I'll let you go. So clearly, I've worked with people with thyroid, but how much of this journey and program do you feel is applicable to any complex health condition?
I think now, I think they're all related now. I think all these chronic conditions are related. And I think it's it's all intertwined in some way. So, as we know with myself, right, it probably started in the gut that led to the thyroid. So, it's not
Yeah,
just a thyroid issue and it's not just a gut issue, right?
yeah,
And that maybe started for some chronic stress or from some, maybe the COVID vaccine, maybe just lifestyle. So, it's just all intertwined. So,
yeah.
you have to have the big picture and you have to treat the big picture, I think, to just have the best wholesome view of health.
Absolutely. Love it. Totally agree. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really, truly appreciate it. Yeah.
No, thank you so much. You've done so much for my life, and I'm forever grateful, and I look forward to keep working with you.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing your progress from here on in.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.